We're back here at SFA News Live. Now, this is going to be our last interview for today. Lots more coming tomorrow. And don't forget, today, the front burner competition at 5 o'clock on the second floor. You want to be there. This is where not only are we going to hear their pitches about their products, but we're really going to hear the analysis of what these experts are going to do. Think of it as Shark Tank, but even better and much more realistic and more hardcore. So stay tuned for that. Tomorrow morning, don't forget, at 8:30, the Disruptor panel is going to be huge. This is going to be one session at SFA Fancy Food Show you do not want to miss, and then more interviews, of course. We'll also be on the show floor with our cameras to show you the latest and the greatest in new products. With me now is Carol Ortenberg from Project Nosh. Carol, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be the last interview of the day, closing the day out.
Exactly. Now, what Project Nosh is, for a lot of people that don't know, this is really where you're talking about innovators. You're talking about new projects, new foods, new beverages that are coming out. So through your lens, as you walk up and down these aisles, 1,600 exhibitors, I don't know how much of the show you've seen yet, but what have you seen that's really gotten you excited, and what are some of the trends?
I think it's interesting to see how trends that we saw in the macro wider space are now filtering into the specialty food space. Certainly.
Give me some examples.
Yes, some key examples. You know, protein is very hot, but even more so taking that to the next level. Is it plant-based protein? Is it clean protein? So brands like Good Catch, which are doing a plant-based seafood alternative.
Which is fabulous.
It's amazing.
Fabulous,
you can't tell the difference. And you flip it over and you know exactly what those ingredients are. It's not complicated. It's easy to understand.
What I also like about their package, talking about flipping it over, is right on the back of the package, it tells you the captain of the ship, of where it was caught, the name of the ship, and so on. So this is a great example of pure transparency, if you would.
Yeah, and consumers are really looking for transparency in their packaging. I think they're also looking for a story. They want more than just eating a product. They want to know, how was it created, who was behind it, what should they do with it, and really creating that whole lifestyle and experience around what might be a really simple product.
But I think it's important, to your point, and also it goes a step further, all those things you mentioned, and also, what is the company doing with their money? Are they giving something back? You know, I always bring it up at the Portlandia segment on Colin the Chicken, you know, where
it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, where he's saying, you know, is this organic chicken farm owned by some guy on a yacht in Miami? I mean, people want to know these things more and more, which I think is really elevating the entire food world.
Yeah, and I think the smart brands figure out how to tell that story in different ways to different consumers. So the consumer that just wants a little soundbite and wants to know that the chicken was organic, they've found a way to do that quickly and concisely on their packaging. And then maybe the consumer who wants a little bit more goes to their website, engages with their social media. And how do you address both of those at the same time is really how you become a successful brand that knows how to tell the elevator pitch as well as the longer story.
So besides transparency, what are some of the other, product categories that made you say, wow?
I mean, there is so much ice cream here. Does anyone not say wow to ice cream? It's just like joy in a pint.
Yeah.
And you see brands that were even in novelties starting to explore that pint category and really seeing success and traction. I'm also just in pints impressed by the branding. I don't know if you saw Arctic Zero's branding.
Yes.
So colorful and fun. And that's just, really elevating that entire freezer door space with these brands that, again, are telling stories through their packaging.
Well, I think one of the problems that they finally got in the frozen food department 15 years too late is all of a sudden your package is now behind glass.
Yeah, frosted glass.
Frosted glass. And sometimes somebody left the door open too much and you can't see through it. And it took these package designers and these brands so long to figure that out, because you create a nice package, it's in an environment like this on a desk. Somebody says, wow, yeah, that's great. But they need to look at it in a store.
And And I think some of those frozen brands also were very utilitarian, and it was about what was inside and what you were getting and the nutrition facts. And now they realize, like, even if you're a pint of ice cream to a frozen green bean, you need that story, you need that brand, and kind of that lifestyle piece. And like you said, you have to convey all of that behind a glass door.
Yeah. So transparency, ice cream, what else?
What else? We're really taken with the mainstreaming of Asian or ethnic products, how they're shifting from being these special products that were, sort of segregated to one aisle of the store and taking those flavors and really blowing them out throughout center store. And part of that's because the millennial consumer is seeking out those global flavor trends. Maybe they've been exposed to new things through meal kits, but they're not afraid of them, and they like that. They feel special for trying something global and unique.
So what's your take on meal kits these days?
I mean, you know what?
Dead?
If
Dead
it
in the
gets
water?
more people cooking, I'm kind of in love with them, right?
Okay.
Like, I used to work for a retailer, and I had a consumer come up and said, "How do I make a hamburger?" So if it teaches consumers and gets them more comfortable in the kitchen, that's only a good thing. I think what's interesting is seeing how retailers are trying to embrace this meal kit philosophy and bring it in store, whether that's through their own proprietary meal kits or products like Tasty Bites, sort of meal sets, and it's got the spices in one packet, the sauce in the other, the herbs in the other, and you still feel involved in the process, but it's a shelf-stable product that sits on the shelf. It's more just about breaking it down into its components instead of having a pre-made sauce.
You're right, because we're seeing more and more retailers doing fresh, refrigerated meal kits in the store, because one of the things that we're hearing from consumers is this whole idea of ordering 3 days ahead, 3 meals, over packaged just doesn't work for them.
It doesn't, and you still need that impulsive, like, I went to the store, oh my God, what do I cook sort of moment. Of course, that never happens to me.
Never.
I don't know about you. But I also think, if you can make that meal kit experience special in store, that's also a draw to bring people in. Yes, you have the grocerants and the sort of pre-made food and restaurant sort of style, but then there's this other segment of the consumer that wants to come in and find out what unique meal kit you're serving that week.
And it's fun, and you get involved, going back, I want to say it's 10, 12 years ago, we had the meal assembly kitchens, that popped up all over the country. I think it got up to like 5,500 of them, where, you and I would go, or we'd have a bunch of people that would go, and we would assemble our meals in their kitchens, and then we would bring them home to cook. Well, that faded and died very, very quickly. And I think that the idea of delivering meal kits is probably going to die a quick death as well. But at the same time, we're seeing more retailers reinventing that so that it can be more impulsive, to your point. It can change every day. I don't have to think about what it is that I want to order for 3 days from now. And again, as I said, especially with millennials, that whole over-packaging really killed the idea.
It also lets millennials customize the dish to how they want it. So if they want it more spicy, they can add a little bit more heat or less salt or more citrus. And I think that idea of customizing it and really making it my own without having to break out a cookbook, buy 10 million ingredients, does speak to millennials. Buying 3 days in advance leaves you with food waste sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
You decide to go out to dinner, oh my God, I've got this meal kit going bad in my fridge. But also, the flip side is purchasing a meal kit in store with just the amount of spice I need so that I don't have a jar languishing in my pantry. That appeals to that millennial desire for sustainability and to reduce food waste.
Absolutely. Well, Carol, thanks so much for our final thoughts of the day. We're going to be back tomorrow morning. Don't forget, 5 o'clock, the front burner pitch competition. You don't want to miss that. Tomorrow morning, 8:30, the disruptor panel. Wow, it's going to be fabulous. Phil is going to be moderating that. And then we'll be back here at SFA News Live throughout the day, giving you more news from those people like Carol who are changing the food world for the better.